I think all of my ducks are all together. They're not in a line, but I believe that they are all together.
You've herded them effectively, huh?
Yeah.
I see. It looks like, all right. So let me go in here and share what we're doing. Let's do
this. Is going to be a little different. Hey, Randy, did I check with you? Did you get a good night's sleep last night?
As usual, I needed more beauty sleep, but it'll have to do. So my makeup crew, they took the holiday off, so you got me all natural here. So
we have to talk about this makeup crew stuff, buddy. It's really chewing into the profitability of the show.
It is. We got some issues they had to deal with. Well, hello there, Suzanne.
Hi.
Hello, Suzanne.
Hi.
All right. It's high noon. I'm Teddy Burris, and this is my good friend, Mr. Randy Wooden. You are joining us for the lunch conversations with Randy and Teddy. Today's conversation is about gratitude. It's November 25th, one day before Thanksgiving. We kind of thought we'd mix this show up and do it a little differently, and this is audience participation. What's the guy's name that does The Price is Right? What's that guy's name?
Used to be Bob Barker.
Now, who's the new guy? Use the chat. Anybody know who the new guy is that does The Price is Right?
Drew Carey? I don't know. Who is it?
Yeah, I think it is Drew Carey. Yeah, Bernard got it. Bernard, good seeing you out there. It's Drew Carey. So I'm playing Drew Carey, and Randy's going to help me. We're going to pull the audience into this conversation.
And there you go.
So, Randy, tell the people who you are, and then we'll introduce our sponsor.
Yeah, you bet. Randy Wooden with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. I run our professional center. So as you might expect, we help folks much like the ones who are on our panel today and also that are going to be tuning in. People who are between jobs or who might be employed and just looking to transition to something maybe more fulfilling. Our services are free. And back in April when COVID hit, March, April timeframe, Teddy and I got together and said, why don't we just do a show that helps job hunters and also can inform about professional development and some other topics. And so that sort of is how this thing evolved to what we have today, which is a special Thanksgiving Day show, a day early. But we're going to cover some things that we're thankful for, maybe some encouragement, show some gratitude, and also some tips that might help you during this time of year if you are in that job search mode. So let me turn it back to Teddy. I'm going to monitor the chat box. So if you have questions you'd like to pose, or if you would like to join in the conversation, then let us know that as well. And I'll make sure to jump in and let Teddy unmute your mic.
Randy, this sucks. Lisa's on the road. She's not going to be able to see us. She's only going to be able to hear us.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. So all of that aside, Randy and I are fortunate that Brookmead Holdings is our sponsor of this show. Brookmead, since 1993, has helped thousands of individuals in major industries across all kinds of career fields and numbers of years of experience and responsibility with their ideal career goal. They do work, they customize their work in job search coaching for individuals and through professional development training programs for organizations. So if you know anybody who's looking for customized job search coaching or organizations that want professional development, please look up Brookmead Holdings. Their number is 336-814-8910, or look for Job Search Coach Now. Job Search Coach Now on Facebook. And Brookmead Holdings, thank you very much for your help with our show. So Randy, do you want me to introduce our special guest?
Absolutely.
And John, Steve, Suzanne, special guest is serious. Randy and I decided to use the phrase special guest because all we are is the people that brings the special, great, fantastic, smart people together. So thank you very much for being our special guest. So I'm going to just, I actually will let you, if you could, take 15 seconds. And we'll start with Steve, then Suzanne, and then John, and introduce yourself in 15 seconds.
My name is Steve Miller. I am here in the Triad area. I am a digital marketing e-commerce professional in transition. So I am a job seeker, like many of you on this forum. And I'm glad to be here. I am looking forward to my next position and looking forward to sharing some some job tips and anything else that I can, be helpful to others in my situation.
Cool. Thank you, Steve. Suzanne?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Ross. I am also in transition. I'm IT project manager and have been part of these groups for a while now, and I've learned a lot from them, and I'm grateful for them and hope to share some of the things I've learned with that. Thank you.
Mr. Hamilton.
My name's John Hamilton. I'm in search of my third career. My first career was in corporate HR. My second career was operating a multi-state retail enterprise. And so now I'm trying to put those two things together and come up with a third career, and just grateful to be part of this panel and have been part of this group and used Randy's services over the past few months, and well, actually over the past year or so. So
yeah,
look forward to sharing today.
So that's John, Suzanne, Steve, thank you very much for sharing. This is absolutely about audience participation. So we really want you to be involved in this. One thing that we want to start with is for everyone except for Lisa, who's driving. Why don't you drop your LinkedIn profile URL and a very simple statement that says, who are you? We'll get your name. Your name will be there. So just drop your LinkedIn profile URL and what it is you want to do. Example, I'm Teddy Burris. So my LinkedIn profile is TL Burris. And then I'll put at the end of it, cat wrestler. So I'll share, my LinkedIn profile URL and cat wrestler. That's what I want to do. If you drop that in there, then what we'll do is we'll share your LinkedIn profile URL with others and what it is that you want to do, so you can possibly create new conversations. So share your information with us and we'll help introduce you to other people. Randy, take it.
Yeah, and something, actually just what I'm doing right now, if you would like to jump in the conversation, no need to officially go to the icon to raise your hand. Just kind of go like this, and then we'll pick up on that. So whoever is doing the talking at that time, just finish your thought. There's no rush. We have an hour. You're fine. And then the next person can jump in. And what we typically do is we'll have some back and forth discussion until you get to be about 10 till the hour or something along those lines. Teddy and I'll take it from there and wrap up. We've got some comments we'd like to throw in. And also, we'll talk about next week's show. So I see we're getting some entry here in the chat box. So that's a good thing. So Teddy, let's get started.
Let me one more thing for all of our attendees. While you're hearing us chat and share, if you want to share something directly relevant to gratitude or to the conversation, raise your hand. And when you raise your hand, I'll turn your microphone on if you want to jump in and share something specific to the chat. We're gonna do it a little bit differently because Randy, we got 26,000 people on here, so we got to be careful with this. But we want to have you be a part of the show. So when we get started, be willing to jump in and share. So, so the conversation's about gratitude. And I like the word. I didn't say, when we were talking about it, we didn't say we want to talk about being thankful. We want to take that word thankful to another level. And for me, when I think of the word gratitude, I think about how it truly makes me feel. You can take that word. I didn't bring the definition to it, but take that word and bring it into how does it make you feel? And first and foremost, you've got to find a way to have gratitude and in regards to every aspect of your life, not just this one piece where I don't have a job and I got to have a job and I got to find a job and it's creating this pain and this conflict. But there's so much more about us as human beings that I think gratitude can help raise us up beyond some of that challenges. Thoughts? Randy, Steve, John? Suzanne?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. You want me to start?
Yep. Go ahead, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, gratitude, thankfulness, whatever word we use. I think it's looking at things in a positive attitude and saying, hey, I'm at work right now between jobs. A lot of people say the word unemployed. I don't say. I just share with people that, hey, I'm between jobs right now. And so being gracious for what we do have. I had a friend many years ago. He said, Steve, don't let what you don't have mess up what you do have. So certainly the big things like a roof over my head or food on the table, family, friends, forums like this that we can share information through our job search. All those things are important to me. And so having gratitude is, there's probably a lot more things we can be gracious for and have thanks for the account. And I think, dude, I kind of think of it as, there's a lot of things we can't change in our life, but we can always change our attitude of things. So that's kind of my short take.
Yeah.
Suzanne, what about yourself?
Well, I agree with Steve. I think the way you approach things is very important. I was reading something this week. Someone had sent to me that they had started a gratitude journal, and one of the things they did every day was just write maybe one sentence, that something that they had happened that day that they were grateful for, and they had been doing it for a couple of weeks. And someone remarked to them, what's going on in your life? You seem like you're lighter, happier, or something like that. And just the constant reminder of things that you're grateful for, I think, is an attitude adjustment, and can help you not only in your job search, but in every aspect of your life.
I think that's exactly right. And as I've gone through the search for my next career, which is the way I have characterized it, I'm searching for my next career. I've sort of gone from a, gee, this is, woe is me kind of a thing to, hey, things are not nearly as bad as they could be. And I'm going to focus on what's positive. I'm going to focus on what I've been able to do during this time for searching for my next career. And I'm not going to get bummed out about why I hadn't gotten a job yet. I mean, I know that's Randy's fault that I hadn't gotten a job yet. So, but.
So sue me, right? Don't give me any ideas, Hank. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Our attorney's on the call right now. So
yeah, Brandon, don't be mixing your side hustle up with this show, dude.
Yeah, the attitude thing's huge. Years ago, somebody had told me, somebody a lot smarter than I am, of course, pretty wide path there, but they said that two things you can control: your time and your attitude. Time and attitude. How do you spend your time? You can largely control that. But also I learned at a very young age about attitude, and whether it's bullies in school, whether it's a stressful work environment or relationships or whatever, you can't always control necessarily what people say and do, or in this case, COVID or a downturn in the market and you're out of a job. But what you can control is how you allow that to impact your feelings and your motivation and your thought process. So I think the loss of hope is huge. And as long as there's hope and we have what we feel like is a plan, something we can focus on that's positive, as opposed to, I think Steve had mentioned it, or maybe Suzanne, instead of focusing on what we don't have, focus on what we do have and what we can control, things that are within our control. And that gives us a sense that we are in control. So.
I think
Randy,
that's true. And
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Jay. No, I was going to say, I think that's true. And one of the things that is, and I think Steve mentioned this earlier, that I'm grateful for as part of this whole process is, because of things like this, I know I'm not in this alone. Yeah. I'm not isolated. I'm not, going through all of this by myself. And it's really been a good opportunity to reconnect, for me, to reconnect with old friends, old acquaintances. Mm-hmm. And I've made a bunch of new ones that go beyond just, hey, do you know somebody I could talk to, to broaden my network? Not so much about you know somebody that can give me a job, but if you do know them, I'll be glad to talk to them too. But to broaden the network and in some cases, I've got new good friends out of the process. So there've been a lot of things that I wouldn't have thought of that would have come from spending time searching for my next career.
Yeah. And I appreciate Greg commenting that he's grateful for Randy and I and hosting this every week and, bringing people together to talk. I'll tell you, for me personally, it's rewarding and enjoyable for me to do this. So I'm grateful that me and my buddy have the ability to pull this off, and our bosses let us do whatever the heck we want, don't they, Randy?
Until they find out all the details, then
yeah. So
no, it's a good thing. Here again, we're all in this to try to help. And while most of our topics each week are either job hunt specific and tips on how to do something more effectively, or professional development, or for example, next week with Clifton strengths and understanding ourselves better. Today, it's really that inward introspective kind of approach and saying, okay, what's between the ears here? How do we stay focused? What are tips? How can we learn from each other? Because again, I've been there, Teddy's been there, all of us, most of us on this call are either currently looking or have looked. And when I say that, I mean not just for 2 or 3 weeks, but months. And so that wears on you in a number of areas. So let's talk more. And again, for our panelists, if you'd like to say something, just kind of go like that, and that'll cue us. Anything else that you wanted to add? Yeah, Steve, what you got?
Yeah, I'll just say one thing in regard to that. This is my third time in a job search since I moved out here from Colorado. And I think one thing you find is that when you're between jobs, you've kind of lost your identity. Like right now, I'm not a marketing person. I'm not an e-commerce professional. I'm between jobs. I'm looking for my next opportunity. And you lose that identity of who you are. And you kind of feel a little bit lost. And so me personally, and I think others go through this during the job search process, is that the number one challenge is the emotional challenge of being between jobs, sharing that information with people, working towards the next career opportunity, and trying to, unveil what my next thing is. And so that's a challenge that if anybody's going through this with me, have to face. And so here's where the advice I would give. Action puts fear to flight and builds self-confidence. And here's what I mean by that. The other day, I had 2 opportunities that just disappeared. One got put off till next year. The other one was just gone. Opportunities like you have chased weeks, first interviews, second interviews, third interviews, whatever the case may be. But then, what can I do this afternoon? There's nothing else I can do this afternoon, but I can connect. And this would be one strategy that when you're not feeling good and things are not going right, get on LinkedIn, go through your list, and just start reaching out to people. And the more you reach out to people and connect, you're just allowing that next opportunity to start up the surface. But you have to put yourself in a place where people know about you. So, marketing guy, I'm marketing myself. I'm creating awareness and generating demand for my experiences, skills, my knowledge, and help my next employer, in essence, gain revenue through the channels that I can help them develop. So, discouraged with you, I'm there with you. Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I was saying, you got to think that, and Greg dropped this chat in here and he said, I am not my job. You got to be clear that this is who I am as a human. And let's look at this a little bit broader. There's three pieces to life. There's the past, there's the present, and there's the future.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think my mother taught me this. My mother gave me, what's that dead dude's name? Norman Vincent Peale, okay? Suzanne's heard me say this. I read a lot of dead people's books, okay? Norman Vincent Peale's book was The Power of Positive Thinking. I think that's Norman Vincent Peale, okay? And I think that's where I learned I can't change the past. Okay. I can't make the future happen the way I want it to happen. I can only do today what I know I can do today. Now I can impact the future based on what I do today. So let me put all my energies in and focus on today, what I can do that could possibly influence the future. And that for me, it really simplifies life. It makes it easier for me to be, be blessed. The outright. By the way, I didn't start saying this out loud until about 10 years ago, where I now out loud and publicly say I'm blessed for what I have. So if I say it out loud, then it just really gets me to be more positive thinking and gets me to be focused on what I can do today with the right attitude. So, if today now, the present is all I have the ability to impact, and I want to raise up my positivity. What are some ways that you do that? Suzanne, what are some ways, John and Steve, that you improve your positivity through this chaotic time that we're in?
Well, I think one of the things that all of us need to do, especially to guard our health in this time and to really help your attitude, a lot of times it's just taking a walk, just getting outside of your head, getting outside, walk away from the computer for 30 minutes or an hour, just take a walk and appreciate nature, the fact that the seasons have changed, that type of thing can help your attitude, can help you then refocus when you get back in front of that computer and have less distractions. So I think just doing some exercise can help.
Yeah.
And having a wonderful dog like that too.
Or petting your dog. That's another.
Yeah.
Hey, long time ago, I used to work for a fellow up in Ohio, a small company, and he was the general manager, sales manager. And then when people would sign a contract, then they would be assigned to either to me or to another one or two consultants. And I noticed that instead of him going after the large contracts like some other branch offices did, he sold a lot of smaller contracts. So I asked him about that. I said, why do you do that? Money is money. So whether he sells one big contract or 10 little ones, he makes the same amount of money if the cash flow is the same. And he said, Randy, it's a mental thing. And I've tried to transition this into the job search. He says, if I can hit a lot of singles instead of sitting back like Earl Weaver used to do with the Orioles and wait for the grand slam home run, he said, I'm seeing progress on a daily basis. It may be incremental, but instead of sitting there waiting for that big deal that may or may not come in, now I'm consistently doing something. So to kind of bring that to the mental, to kind of stay in focus here, I think Steve alluded to that earlier. Even when things fall off that you had hoped would come about, you can still focus on smaller incremental things. You can stay busy. And when I say busy, I don't mean busy just to be busy. I mean being productive busy, but it keeps you focused because you're seeing progress. Yeah. You never know when it's going to end. You never know when you're going to get that job offer that you accept, but at least this way you can see tangible progress on a daily basis. And sometimes that can help keep you mentally focused. At least it does for me if I can see progress.
I'm with you. Ray, you may have heard me talk about this. I teach a philosophy of BHAG. We all have to have a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. But you can't make BHAGs happen. You can't just, make it happen. So what you need to do is you need to use SMART goals. I call them stepping stone goals. SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound, little steps to get to the BHAG. And by the way, for me, I want to come back to this question about how do John and Steve raise up their positivity during the day. But for me, when I execute a SMART goal, when I check off I did that, I celebrate it. You celebrate those little steps because you know it's moving you forward. So, hey, Steve or John, what do you do? What are some
It's just like here, I have my daily to-do list and I check them off. See little check boxes right there? I'm old school, man. I bring this out every week. I show it's like what is it, Karl Rove, where he gets on the political thing and he's got the whiteboard and he's like this, you know, this old school stuff. Yeah, except this is a legal pad. So,
what you don't see in front of me is my secretarial pole.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
John, what do you do? How do you when you applied for 10 jobs, you reached out to 15 people and none of it happened. What do you do to pull yourself out of that ditch, dude?
Well, Steve, dog here, so Susan walk. If you get, if you're walking with the dog and talking to yourself, people don't look at you near as funny as if you're just out walking and talking to yourself without the dog. So that helps. I think the other thing, I've sort of fallen into reading and following John Gordon, who's a lot of into the positive, much of what you were talking about, Teddy, control what you can control. You can control effort, you can control attitude. And, through this, and part of what I'm grateful for is I think my faith has gotten strong. And that's certainly been a help. Again, I don't feel like I'm in this alone. And, sometimes I just have to, get up, and Miss Suzanne said, go for a walk and enjoy the nature and the beauty. But it's all about attitude. It's all about mental, and it's, between your ears.
Yeah.
Steve, what do you do to raise yourself up and realize that all this pain that you're and challenge, and I'm generalizing these statements, but all these challenges we have, not having a job, and I didn't get, you got 2 opportunities disappeared. How do you build yourself back up through that?
Hey, you get yourself off the mat and you get back. I call it swinging the bat. I get up every morning, I dress like I'm going to work. I say, this is going to be a great day. Now, I've got a spreadsheet where I keep track of every conversation I have or communication I have with others. I try to touch, Randy, I've told you this, I try to touch 20 people a day. In the morning when I'm getting ready, I'm in the bathroom, I'm telling myself, give me 20, Steve. I want my 20. I want my 20 today before this day is gone. And I'm going to hit my 20 because I believe that you've got to touch enough people to let people know what your skills, your knowledge, experience, and your availability. And people will help you out. Now, I will share, as Randy, I'm a man of faith. And so I do depend on my faith. I believe in me. It gives me strength, it gives me courage. It's different, but just not give up. You've got to persevere. There are opportunities out there. You've got to continue every day to swing that bat. When you do that, it helps attitude a lot, because I've found that as soon as one thing drops off, all of a sudden the next day, somebody called me about, have you talked to this company? They're looking for an e-commerce guy. So I just think persevering is really important.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's hard. So, hey, this is, we're halfway through the show. Just a reminder, this is Lunch with Randy and Teddy. We're grateful for our sponsors. Brookmead Holdings is sponsoring us this show. They're one of our founding sponsors. So we really appreciate their help. And every week we do this and we bring different conversations. And our special guests today are John Hamilton, Steve Miller, and Suzanne Ross, and the conversations about gratitude during job search. So really important for us to put that in context and pay attention to, how to remind ourselves that despite what we don't have, there are things that we do have that really adds great value to our lives. Randy?
Julia in the comments section had mentioned volunteerism, as a way to help get you restarted and refocused, and quite frankly, in some other ways too, to bring it to bear and to see it that, if you're having a pity party and you go out and volunteer to help the homeless, or you go out to volunteer to help those who have some severe challenges, you know what? You don't feel sorry for yourself. And if you think you're going out to bless other people, 9 times out of 10, you derive more blessing as a result of having done it. So is it comfortable to do? Not necessarily, but I think it's something that is beneficial. And from a purely selfish standpoint, I hate to say it, but the reality is too, you're also making contacts.
Yeah.
And you're doing it in a way that is not in a pressurized, hey, I need a job, please, can I have an interview? It's getting to know people. And like John said, it's deep in his faith. It's also, you've met new people, you've gotten out of that comfort zone. And you know what, if you're into animals, or you're into building houses, or you're into putting coats on kids, or you're into whatever, now you're communing with like-minded folks who also have that same passion. And they see that apart from Steve Miller, the job hunter. Now they see it's Steve Miller, the one who has passions for animals, for example, like the dog you had there. And I think people begin to see you in a different light versus, hey, do you guys have any jobs over there? Well, okay. But it does get you a new exposure to people. But at the same time, too, you're actually helping others. And that giver's gain mentality is quite something.
So let's pull the audience in here.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 25,000 people on this call today. Anybody want to share? How do you remind yourself about what you're blessed for, even during this challenge? And absolutely, if you raise your hand, you use the participants box or the attendees box, and raise your hand. We're happy to pull you into this conversation if you want to share something in that context. So. And while we're waiting for these, I'll let you know, there's a few books that the Dead guys wrote that really changed my life. One of them, one of Dale Carnegie's books is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. That was really rich for me because it really helped me to really think about there's stuff that I can't control. I can't. And by the way, you guys know, those who know me, I'm looking for a job every day. I'm looking for a job every day because my business is such that, I was looking for new contracts on a regular basis. I had a call with a guy this morning. I can't make him sign those papers. All I can do is do the best and follow the process that I know gives me the best results and move on to the next one. And so that's one of the philosophies I learned about is put your energy on and focus your energy on the things that you can change, not the things you can't change. And I actually try hard not to use the word worry. I really try hard not to use that word because that gets this mindset thinking about, well, it's not something I'm worried about. It's something I can't control. So let me focus on what I can control. So, Greg said, sometimes you just need to follow and believe in the process in yourself. We know how to get a job. The results are sometimes out of our control. That's a great point, Greg. We just got to do the process that we know. So what other thoughts are you in your mind? Steve?
I've got one, and just a side thing I did want to share with people. And I had a conversation with a job seeker last week. And one thing I noticed is that she was very upset with her previous employer who let her go, laid her off. Now, I was part of a layoff. I've been part of layoffs in the past. And one thing I wanted to share with people out there that are job seekers is that don't have ill will for your past employer. And I know it is so easy to do. I've done it. Why did they let me go? Why didn't they let this other guy go? How could they have done this? I was there for 7 years or 20 years or whatever. It's very easy to have those emotional feelings about your ex-employer. And my advice is that figure out some way to get that monkey off your back, because that will drag you down like an anchor in your job search. You've got to somehow figure out That's behind me. I worked there for 7 years. I've got 7 years of experience and skills that I can now apply to my new search and figure out a way to let those past employers go where you might have some feelings of, you know, why this, why that. It's just going to really hurt you in your job search. So that's just a little tip that I know people have to deal with, and that's my advice.
And I agree with that, Steve. And when you go into interviews, sometimes they'll ask you about your previous jobs, and how you come across
Yeah.
about that previous job may influence whether or not you get that next job. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
very important.
Yeah, the whole thing about the losing the job and feeling, like, hey, they did me wrong. If I'm the new company that is interviewing you, I don't want to hear it.
Right.
So there's that, but there's also that goes back to what I was saying earlier about sometimes, stuff happens, poop happens, and it can't be changed. It happened. How you let that affect you and live in your brain, that's up to you. Easier said than done. But sometimes talking with other people, John had mentioned that, saying, hey, I'm not alone in this. Because sometimes we internalize and go, what did we do wrong? I don't know what I did wrong. Now we feel guilty. We feel angry, all these feelings. But maybe talking to people who've been down this path before might help you. And so we're thankful that you guys are here. And we also have panelists and attendees that have made some comments. Gratefulness, that is within our control to be grateful. So at least we feel like we own something. That was a comment. So go ahead. Yeah.
So John, how did you manage that monkey and not have him hang on your back through this job search, or those monkeys? Because you said this is your third trip, right?
It's my search for my third career. In the last situation, I'm actually the one that made the decision that the business needed to close. So I'm the one that laid myself off.
Cool.
So, that caused me to go through a lot of, what did I do wrong in running this business that put me in this situation? But I quickly decided that, I needed to be able to explain what happened and move on. I was having a conversation the other day with somebody who somebody had told me to connect with, and they said, you really need to sell that, having gone adversity and, having been able to go through closing a business, things like that. About it, perspective of, I needed to be able to, I knew I needed to be able to discuss it, but they're all of a sudden like, now, don't worry about defending it. You need to be, here's a skill set you've got. You've handled adversity. You've done this. And I'm like, I hadn't really thought about it in that way, but yeah, it makes sense. So, you never know where you're going to get some gem of wisdom. So it's always good to be talking to other people.
That's a good point, John. There's lots of quotes out there that say things like, what don't kill you makes you stronger. And there's lots of those proverbs out there, but absolutely, we learn through adversity. And if we're not learning through adversity, I think it was my grandpa who said, boy, you're a fool. So, I think those was his words. So we have to take in how did that work out? It didn't work out well. What do I need to do differently? Well, I'm going to swing that hammer a little different next time. So, Denise drops in here. Thanks for engaging in the conversation, folks. Throw out chats or drop in, raise your hand if you want to. Denise says positive self-talk. I mean, this is important. There's two things that we were told as kids Well, number one is, as you grow up, stop daydreaming. And number two is don't talk to yourself. Those are two, horrible things to tell a kid. Because I think daydreaming, and again, Suzanne and I think Steve knows this as well. I teach a class about daydreaming. I think it's important to be able to daydream, to look into the future and look and ponder and imagine things you've never imagined before. Am I not telling you that lately, Suzanne?
Yes.
Look at it differently than you've ever looked at it. And then, the other thing is self-talk. Don't just mumble to yourself under your breath. Don't just think it. Say it out loud to yourself. If you're trying to move yourself forward and you have an idea, say it out loud. I'm telling you, for me, it's been absolutely phenomenal how much it makes me think. John?
If you see me riding down the street, driving down the street, and I'm talking to myself, I'm practicing answering interview questions out loud.
Good idea.
And people laugh at you and you laugh back at them.
They're laughing at me for so many different reasons. What's one more?
Everybody just thinks you're talking on the phone to somebody anyway, so it doesn't matter. You can talk how you want to.
Yeah.
Hands free.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So it's quarter. It's 20 till. It really. Sometimes when I really think about the challenges that we've gone through in life and the challenges that we're going through in life, I used to let it bother me, but today I really think just humbly reminds me that I have 4 fantastic, smart daughters who don't have jobs. They have their own careers, own businesses. I got 12 grandkids who are absolutely healthy, fun-loving, noisy, obnoxious teenagers that I look at them and go, yeah, I remember being that. And I love what I see and I love watching them develop. And then I got 1 million friends. I mean, a huge amount of friends across the world. And, even when times are tough and revenue's down and I'm, trying to figure out how to move it forward, I remind myself that my life is rich with people. And I also remind myself of this too, that if things really, really got bad, if things really got bad, John, how many bedrooms do you have in your house, John? If I had to, I could almost move in any one of you.
4.
Well, so you got a room for me, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thought, John?
Yeah. One of the things, Teddy, that kind of to follow on what you said is during this that I've been able or been searching for my next career, I've had the chance to do things I may not have been able to do if I'd been working full time. And in some cases, I'm very grateful for having, I'm grateful for having had the time, even though they may not have been the most pleasant places to go through. But I had the time. And so for people that are in this situation, don't feel guilty about, taking a little bit of time, mental health days, as I refer to them, to, focus on other things that you may not be able to do when you're working full time. I don't know, Steve and Suzanne, if you've been able to, find things that, you're grateful for having had the time. So there are some pluses to all of this available time we have sometimes.
Hey, I want to kind of pivot the conversation just a bit we've got about another 7 or 8 minutes to kind of talk a bit, and then Teddy and I'll wrap things up. We've talked so much about encouragement, gratitude, things to do. Let's pivot that. And what are some pitfalls that the 3 of you or others watching mistakes you've made that you've learned from, things that you did, you're, man, I can't believe I did that. How can we help people avoid making those same mistakes? Steve, I think you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean,
Yeah.
the mistake I made early on is applying for jobs online. Big mistake. And that seems ironic, doesn't it? But it's really not. If you see a job that is posted and you think a great candidate into that company somehow, some way, or a connection that can get your resume in a back door. Yes, you do have to apply online, get your name in the bucket. But if you're applying for jobs and that's all you're doing, you're going to be very disappointed. Make sure that you're very proactive in getting your name in front of people that can interview you.
Mm-hmm. What are some other areas that you've or paths you've gone down and you think, man, it was probably not the best thing? How can we help others who might be maybe just entering the job market right now?
And Randy, if you want, we'll let John and Suzanne jump in. And then maybe if you want me to, I'll tell you the story about the 1972 Pinto I shouldn't have bought. Suzanne, John, what about you? Journeys or paths you took that you wish, I hope others don't take.
While they're thinking, tick, 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 while they're thinking, here's another one while they're thinking. And this happens so often. And Teddy, I'm sure in the job hunters that you assist, you're going to concur with me here. Too often people, instead of building some level of rapport relationship, it would be, hey, Teddy, great. Thanks for agreeing to talk to me. Do you know of any job openings? No? Okay, thanks. Well, if you hear something, let me know. And Teddy says, sure, no problem. And next thing I know, I've burned through everybody I know. I've hit them up for a job. Now where do I go? What do I do? And so that can be a problem. I think we've all seen that. We've all been the recipient of that too at some point.
You know, the other thing, and Suzanne, John, jump in when you're, John, you got something I'll share later. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things, and this was me early on in the process, I at a job description or a job posting and go, I can do that. I've done that in my background. I can do that. And so I had to be honest with myself that, okay, I can convince me that I can do that job, but I'm never going to convince Steve that I can do that job. So why am I wasting my time and ultimately his or somebody else's time? So I had to get to be very honest with myself about, how are you going to fit into what, stop trying to, you're going to have them stop trying to make them fit into you. So that was a place that I had to get to. And that was just a conversation with myself over time, not, great revelation. It was just kind of like, all right, why are you doing this? So know yourself.
Know yourself. Suzanne, a thought?
Yeah, and knowing yourself, I think too, making sure you really research some of these companies. There are definitely companies that you have a personality match with, and you may end up interviewing with a company and thinking that, oh, I need this job. But then even the person in the interview is not somebody you can just kind of tell that you don't mesh with that person. So, make sure you do your research about the companies. Make sure you know that if there is a personality for that company, know that personality for the company to determine if your personality is going to work with that company instead of just focusing on getting that job. It's really finding the right match for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's way more than just the work. It's the environment. It's the people. It's the leadership. Absolutely. And these are huge. You do not want to jump from one chaotic environment looking for a job, desperately looking for, to another environment. Oh my God, why did I take this job?
Right.
Yeah. Plus, if you do that, Teddy, now you're starting a second job search in a matter of a month or 2 or 3. And now, do you mention that short-term job? How do you explain it away? And now that just is another layer of angst that you have to deal with. We don't know the size of somebody's wallet and what their finances are, and how, I hate to say desperate, but I'll use that word, desperately they need the income. So if you need a job, then that trumps all. And if you've got to eat, you got to eat. But if you have that bit of latitude, Steve, I know you and I have talked this before, you look for the right fit, not just for you, but for the company. You want to make sure it's a good mutual fit, and that not only is a job you can do, but a job you want to do for the people you want to do it for. Just like they're looking at you saying, hey, is Miller going to do this job well? And do I like him fitting into our culture? So it's a two-way street. We've got just a moment or two left. Any final thoughts from the three of you that you'd like to have our viewers take away from today's conversation? Then Teddy and I will take it from there.
Steve?
I'll just say one thing, and I learned this the last time, was that once you really believe in yourself and your skills and your knowledge, that will come through. That will come through when you're talking to people. And secondly, spend time networking, not applying to open positions, because you're going to be planting seeds for companies that might need you 3 months from whenever that is. So keep planting seeds, keep believing in yourself, and things will eventually come through.
John, Suzanne, any thoughts? Closing thoughts?
Oh, agree with Steve. Keep planting seeds, never give up. I mean, there's the right job out there for everybody, and you just keep at it, keep networking, keep talking to neighbors, talking to people in your church, or anywhere that you are or can be right now, where you can talk to people. That's important as far as making those connections so that you can move forward in your job search.
John?
Stay positive. Stay positive.
Yeah. I sound like to me, you put a big fat period at the end of that.
Yes.
You have to. I mean, you only get one ride around, in this body. So why do you want to put it in a state of pain and misery up here? So you got to control that. So, and Suzanne, talk to people, meet people in real life. That recently, my local Lowe's, Randy will get a kick out of this. My local Lowe's food was looking for their beer den, a new beer den manager. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, beer den manager.
You know what? I think it's at Lowe's. They call him the beer professor.
Yep.
They think it's called like a alcohol professor or something, because we post job leads at our professional center, and a year or two ago we were seeing these things like, wait a minute.
Well, I saw it out here in Advance, North Carolina. I saw that they're looking for a new beer den manager, and I looked at the job and I'm like, this would be fun. This would be fun. And I wasn't sure how I could pull it off, because my current job may not want me to go do something else. She's right downstairs, by the way. But anyway, I know, dude. So anyway, I met the new beer den manager. We had a great conversation, and he loved hearing about the stuff that I do and my job search, volunteer work, and social media. And we exchanged cards, and I got a new best buddy. He's the beer den manager. I'm hoping to get discounts. Suzanne, you never know what conversation is going to lead to what. So, Randy, what do you think, buddy?
It helps to know people. I guess we're at that point now where we're going to share a comment or two, Teddy, and then talk about.
I got a story. If you got a story, I got a story.
Just a reflection on a few thoughts from today. The volunteerism part is big. I think when we start to kind of internalize so much to say, oh no, oh woe is me, holy cow, I can't believe it, it's my fault, or even maybe it wasn't my fault, but son of a gun, they did it to me. And we kind of wallow in that at some point. And unless something acts on that, if we feel like we have lost that control and we just feel helpless, I think getting out and volunteering is one thing we can do. I think offering to help other people. I know Steve mentioned that a job hunter approached him, so he can feel, Steve can, feel like he's contributing to someone else. So that adds value in Steve's mind that he has helped other people. And I think that's a big contributing factor to help keep our heads straight. Years ago, I used to work in radio a long time ago, and was married at the time. We had twin sons. And at some point we reached that point where it was time to leave radio and try to take those transferable skills somewhere else. Well, that was 1991, just to give you an idea of how fast the years go by. And unfortunately, the radio station long story short, found out I was looking. They ran an ad and they replaced me. Now, I had a wife and twin sons that were about 3-4 years old. And it was on Halloween day. I got fired. I came home. Now, I worked afternoon drive, so I'd always missed Halloween with the kids when they were 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. Until this year. It was first year, and I get choked up thinking about it, but it was the first year I got a chance to go with the kids on Halloween. And of course, you know, my wife and the babysitter, they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, hey, you know, stuff happens." So that was a short, small blessing. But I remember it was about a 6-month run throughout Christmas. Again, this happened in October. So you're talking Thanksgiving, you're talking Christmas, New Year's. And I'm the primary breadwinner in the family. And we didn't have LinkedIn. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have email. Well, if we did, I didn't have it. And so here I am stuck in Newark, Ohio, trying to make an industry change. And in part of, I think, for many of us are, and I think Greg mentioned that earlier, that we are not our job. Our job is not us. We are not defined by our job. But, you know, we're human and we think that. Teddy's a cat wrestler or whatever you are, or a beer doctor.
Beer den manager.
Beer den manager. And when you lose that identity, you lose a piece of yourself, and trying to get that piece back has troubled a lot of folks, and it troubled me too. And I knew it was going to end at some point, but I wasn't sure when. So anyway, I'm grateful that I'm in a role where I can use the skills I have and the knowledge I have to have a very positive impact on the community. And again, to get paid to do that is gravy. It's just, if I were independently wealthy like Dr. Burris over here, I would do it again for free. But I'm thankful for what I have. So Teddy, let me turn it to you to wrap it up. And if you want to close with the next week's show or throw it back to me, I'll
throw it back to you on that.
All right.
So look, here's a couple thoughts that come to mind. Well, we're all humans. We're all on the same journey. We're going through it at different paces. We're at different segments of our lives in this journey, but we are all the same. We are all the same. We're humans going through the same journey. Look at an anthill. Look at all the millions of ants that come in and out of an anthill. They're all ants. They're all doing the same thing. So think of it in the big world, the big, galaxy we're in. We're all humans doing the same thing. We're just going through a little different phases in life. This is important. Show gratitude for others. You've out loud show gratitude for others and be sincere about it. My ex-boss, Yasser Youssef, said to me, and then he became a client. Every time I'd leave his office, he would say, "Teddy, I appreciate you." And when I first started hearing that, I didn't grab it. Then I grabbed it. It was more than just appreciative for what I did, my actions, the value I brought. He appreciated me as a human. So show gratitude for others, including your beer den managers at Lowe's Food. That's important to do. I mean, thank that waitress out loud. Thank that cashier out loud. Let them know that you appreciate them. These are words and actions we can do to impact the way we think and the way we feel. Something else. Say out loud your graciousness. Share your gratitude out loud. I say this now. I'm blessed for my family. my wife, my health, my friends, my people. You know, when you say it out loud and your body hears it, it impacts the way you think. So I really encourage you to do that. And my last statement, Randy, is this: never criticize, condemn, or complain. All that does is make you miserable. And I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody that shows up on the calls. And I appreciate my buddy Randy, who's going to take it from here.
Yep. Next week, Malcolm Mcdougall. And again, it's a longer story, and he's got a great story behind it. He had a great long career with a major employer here in the Triad. My words now, he stumbled upon the Clifton Strengths Assessment and fell in love with it, to the point where that's his primary role as a consultant, to help people through that assessment to know themselves better, to be able to engage more effectively with others. He'll be on next week. I'll tell you what, if you were to go purchase, for example, the book, the Clifton Strengths book, and take the assessment, next week when he's on the show, he'll mention this, but just to throw it out there in case you're watching now, he'll do a 2-hour, at some point in the future, a 2-hour free group assessment, and explain and break down what all the Clifton Strengths, what it all means. And so it'll be insightful. We'll have that next week. That'll be coming up on, what is that, the 1st? I think it is December 1st.
I think it's the 1st, yeah.
So be sure to join us then. And again, I want to thank John Hamilton, Steve Miller, and Suzanne Ross for joining us today, talking about gratitude. And as we approach this Thanksgiving, the holiday season, again, we're thankful for you watching and for you that have joined us on the panel. Teddy, you have a great Thanksgiving. Folks, you have a great Thanksgiving, great week. Be safe, and we will see you next week on Lunch with Randy and Teddy.
And thanks to Brookmead Holdings for being our sponsor of the show. We appreciate them as well. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. See you in a week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.